before I get started, I want to just tell you what led to today. How did ACN start? And then I want to give you some words of wisdom, because I really believe that, not everyone is ready to really take advantage of opportunity. And it's because I don't think everyone really appreciates how quickly time goes by. And I always say, if I knew what I knew, today, 5 years ago, what would I do different, right? Well, I always look at today as that's my opportunity for the next 5 years. If I would look back in time and say, knowing what I know today, what would I do different 5 years ago? How much harder would I have worked? What kind of sacrifices would I have made so I could have a better life today? That's what we're doing today to have a better life 5 years from now. See, we can write our own story. Every one of you can create a lifestyle that you want, but you have to recognize the timing of what you're doing. Today is your future history. Today is something you're going to be able to look back on. And when you reflect back on today, are you going to say 5 years from now that you wish you did things differently? Or are you just going to do things differently right now so that in 5 years, you can have a pretty good life? And I say this to you because that's one of the first things I learned when I got involved in direct sales. When I was only 24 years old, and one of my mentors was on stage. It was one of my very first big events. And he was talking about, the future and how people don't capitalize on the current time to have a better life 2, 3, 4, 5 years from that point. But they'll let those 1 years and those 2 years and 3 years and 5 years go by, but people don't realize how quick it goes. I'll give you an example. If you take a look at 10 years, do you guys realize 10 years is only 120 months? Think of it that way. 5 years is only 60 months. That's nothing when you really think about it. I mean, boom, another month goes by, right? May goes by, June goes by. I mean, 60 months will pop like that. So when you really think of terms of 5 years, it's not that long. So when we really talk about going to work, what if you just said, you know what? I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to give my all for the next 1, 2, or 3 years. And that was the message I was learning from my mentor. And I remember when I was sitting there, I was thinking to myself, he's so right. What he's saying is so right, because, at that time I was young. I was not that responsible. I liked going out and hanging out with my friends. And when I decided to, I wanted to build something for my future, and my twin brother and I decided we were going to work together. We put our head down and we started working. And a lot of our friends that we wanted to have come along with us, they didn't come along with us. They didn't want to put the work in, and they made fun of us. A lot of them said, oh, you guys think you're going to become millionaires, and ha, 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 and they laughed. And all those critics out there, they're our biggest promoters today. Now they're saying, oh, you guys are geniuses. We're not geniuses. We just simply went to work when they didn't want to go to work. They wanted to play. And one of my really good friends, I'm one of my biggest critics back then. He's still one of my great friends today. Today, his life stinks. I mean, he sells cars. He barely makes his ends meet. He's got 3 kids. He complains every single day. And I look at him, I go, you know what? Why do you keep complaining? He still complains to me. After we all got friends you loan money to that you never get back. He's my beautiful friend that I can't tell you how much money I've given him. But, at the end of the day, I say, why do you keep complaining? I'm just, why, next year you're going to be doing the same thing. Then next year you're going to be doing the same thing. But some people just don't get it, and he'll never change. So I always say that if you want to change your lifestyle, you have to put some effort into that. It's not just going to happen on its own. Just being a part of ACN isn't going to be the key. You've got to really take control of your life and say, what do I want out of this opportunity in the next 3, 4, and 5 years? What do I want? What's the vision you have? And then today, don't work as though you hope you're going to get it. You work as though you know you're going to get it. Because if you knew you were going to get it, you work harder. If you had a crystal ball and I showed you a picture, look, this is where your lifestyle is going to be, and it was exactly where you want it to be. And I say, but you got to go to work today, but you knew you were going to have it. Your confidence level would change because you say, I know I'm going to have it. I saw the crystal ball. It never lies. I know I'm going to have it. But the reason why a lot of people don't work is because they don't believe that they can achieve their dreams. They don't believe that their lifestyle can be elevated. And you've got to get that out of your mind. And you've got to just say, it's going to happen. Now, how? Don't worry about it right now, because you're going to learn that roadmap to where you are today and where you want to be. You're going to take some crazy twists and turns along the way. And every time you take a crazy twist and turn, it's a lesson learned. So where you are today and where you're going to be, it's also a journey of lessons. So the harder you work, the quicker you learn your lessons. If you work slow and you're kind of complacent, then those lessons take a long time to learn. That's why some people I've seen people take up to 10 years to go RVP, and I've seen people take up to 1 year to go RVP. What's the difference? How much effort they put in the beginning. That's it. So you could take all the effort and you can spread it over 20 years if you want to take 20 years to go RVP. But I say, have people done it in 12 months? Yeah. So why can't you? What makes those other people so special? And the answer is nothing. You can do it. All you got to do is just go to work. So I know I'm on a limited amount of time to talk here, so I'm going to get right into some of the information. So when I saw my mentor and my brother and I were getting trained, we applied ourselves. And believe me, no one on this planet made more mistakes than my brother and I. I mean, I look back, I'm actually embarrassed of some of the things that we said and embarrassed of some of the things that we did. I mean, we were actually ridiculous how we were doing the business in the beginning. But over time, we started figuring it out. And, every time you say something wrong to someone, or every time you do something wrong, you can either get frustrated and quit, or you can say, okay, let me adjust, let me shift, and then you just keep going. My brother and I worked very, very hard, but one of the keys to our success was the person who recruited us. And, we were lucky to be recruited by someone that could at least get us to see the opportunity. But the person who recruited us did not live in Michigan. We were living inside of right around Detroit. This guy who recruited us was living in Los Angeles, but he just happened to be in Detroit for about 30 days. So when he recruited us, he gave us the last 30 days, 100%. He says, if you guys are serious, he goes, I'll work, basically exclusively for you guys. All I want you to do, he said, is put people in front of him. And he said, and just watch what I do. And at the end of 30 days, you're going to see how simple this actually is. And then I'm going to leave and you guys are going to take over. And that's exactly what he did. And we realized that the reason why he knew what he was doing was simple was because every presentation he did was exactly the same. He never spent more than 20 minutes, presenting the opportunity. And everything he said was exactly the same. Every transitional phrase, every cliche, every joke, every fact, everything he said was exactly the same. And he knew that if we watched him do a presentation, the same presentation over and over and over, that repetition's the mother of learning, that we would figure it out. And he was right. By the third presentation, I was leaning forward, as he was presenting, and I was getting sick to my stomach listening to him because I knew what he was going to say. I knew everything he was going to say. And I almost felt more painful for me to sit there and listen to him. So I said, listen, I'd like to do the next presentation. He said, go for it. And my brother and I didn't wait 30 days. We were literally already doing presentations within our first 7 days because it was easy. There was no complication to it. And then he was doing trainings for us, 2 or 3 trainings a week. And again, he was doing the trainings the exact same way. He was keeping it real simple. And before we knew it, before the 30 days were up, when this guy left, Tony and I were on our own. I mean, we never had an upline from that day forward. We were completely 100% on our own. But we would call him every now and then for a little bit of advice. And, one of the things he told us is he said, Mike, Tony, he says, you guys have to plug in to the big events. Okay. Now, when he said that, I still remember today how I felt back then. I said, because I remember talking to Tony about it. I said, we're not going to go to those big events. And the reason we don't want to go to those big events is because this is my brother and I talking to each other. We said, we don't need to be motivated. We don't need to go sit in a big auditorium or sit and listen to some guru, basically tell us what we're supposed to do because they're trying to motivate us. We said, we don't need motivation. So that was the only thing we didn't listen to him on. We didn't go to any big events. Well, after about 3 or 4 months when we were getting zero success, I mean, zero, he had a tremendous amount of success when he was in Michigan working with us. But 90 days later, we were like back to ground zero. And we called him and we said, listen, it worked for you when we were working with you, but it's not working for us. What are we doing wrong? He said, well, what did I tell you guys to do? And we said, we went through 10 different things. He said, I told you guys to go to the big events. He goes, the next one is in Baltimore, Maryland. And I looked at Tony and we said, okay, we're going to do this. So my brother and I, and one other person flew to Baltimore. We sat through a training and I got to tell you, our knees were shaking. We were leaning forward because we were listening to the people that were better than us, that knew what they were doing, and they were training us. And it was like, our brains were exploding with information. We couldn't take notes quick enough. When we came back to Michigan, all of a sudden it started working for Tony and I. And now, even though it was working for us, it wasn't working for our people, which was really weird. It wasn't working for our people. So we called that our upline again and we said, hey, it's working for us now, but it's not working for our people. We don't know how to get them successful. And he said, what did I tell you guys to do? And we went through 10 different things. And he says, no. And he's the events, big events. We go, okay. So there was another one coming up in Austin, Texas. We grabbed about 15 to 20 of our team at that time. And we just said, look, we all have to go. It made a difference for us. We went to the event, and I'll never forget it. Tony and I were sitting there, and my brother hit me in the leg. And I said, what? And he says, look. And I said, what? And he goes, look down the row. And we looked at our entire team down the row, and everyone looked like us in the first event. They were leaning forward. They were taking notes. Their mind was exploding with knowledge. They were so excited. Their knees were shaking. And Tony and I looked at each other, and it was the first time we looked at each other, and we were thinking the exact same thing. We didn't have to say a word, and we just looked down. We realized that the greatest tool that we were ever going to have for developing our organization was big events. Because, the old saying that a prophet is not welcome in their own hometown is so true. It is so true. I mean, you could be saying things to people, that are close to you, or maybe your team that you work with on a daily basis. But by simply putting that person in front of a third-party expert, someone that is almost mythological in a way, they could say the exact same thing you're saying. And all of a sudden they'll lean forward and they'll look at you and say, did you hear what they just said? And actually on one side, you're going, I've been trying to say this to you for like the last 3 months. But on the other side, you're thinking, whoa, that's pretty good information. Wow, you learned all that today? But at the bottom line is you start realizing the power of third-party big events. And my brother and I said, you know what, there is no secrets in this business, but if there ever was a secret, it's he or she that can build for the big events better than anybody else are always going to have the most business in their organization. So we kind of looked at it like in the real estate market. There's an old saying in the real estate market, location, location, location. If you get the right location in real estate, you can't lose. So in direct sales, my brother and I used a different term. Now, obviously we're using more technology in Zoom, but it's putting people, we used to call it in the seats, right? Who can ever fill the rooms? Who can fill the Zoom meetings? So for us, it was like the person that has the most people viewing either an opportunity presentation or a training at every opportunity presentation and training opportunity, then those people are going to make the most. They're going to do the best. And we said, look, we can be average at everything in this business, but the one thing you can't be average at is promoting for an event. You've got to get people to commit to events. For example, you guys got an event right now. We got a June Game On event coming on, I believe, at the end of June, right? At the end of June. And I'm not a part of the North American events, but I was talking to my brother about this event. We just had a Game On event in North America. And it was hugely successful. As a matter of fact, we're trying to model the Game On events in other markets now, like what you guys are doing in North America, because they're so successful. And I was talking to my brother, and he told me that tonight is actually the last night you guys can pre-register at a lower fee. I think it's $29 if you pre-register before midnight tonight. But starting May 1st, which is tomorrow, the price is going to go up to $49. So for those people who just want to save money, make sure you get pre-registered tonight, because if you don't pre-register tonight, just by doing it tomorrow, it's going to cost you $30 more. It's stupid. So make sure you pre-register tonight, get yourself locked in. That's priority number one. Priority number two is, why do you want to get pre-registered? And I'm going to tell you something. And I learned this from my mentor. If you don't commit yourself to a big event, if you personally don't commit yourself, you will not commit anybody else. Not because you don't want to, because human nature won't let you. If you're not committed, you won't commit other people. But if you're committed, you can look at somebody in the eye and say, hey, I'm going, I registered. I'm not going to miss this thing for the world. So you've got to get committed, because you can't commit others if you're not committed. And the third thing is, don't look at an event. For example, you're paying $29 to attend a virtual Game On June event. Okay. Don't look at it like I'm paying money to attend an event. Look at it this way. I'm paying money for an event that's going to train my team. This event is going to train my team. I'm paying $29 for all these experts, plus co-founders, right? Plus, information on products and services. Think about all the stuff that's going to be a part of this event. You're paying $29 for all those people to work for you to do what? To train your team. That's how you have to look at events. Don't look at events as what you can get out of it personally. Now, will you get a lot out of it personally? Absolutely, right? You got to get engaged. You got to listen to the information. you will get inspired, you will get motivated, because you're going to learn a lot about how this opportunity works, and it'll motivate you, it'll blow your mind, right? But don't look at it that way. Look at it, this is the greatest tool you will ever have for advancing your business, period. There is no secrets in this business, but if there ever was one, it would be this. He or she that promotes the big events the most will always have the most momentum. And, I used to do comparisons whenever we would go to conventions, because, obviously we were before all this pandemic, this crazy pandemic, we were filling stadiums of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people. And I always remember the people that were on the stage, the ones who were getting recognized for becoming SVP, the ones who were getting recognized for RVP, they were the same people that had the most people in the audience. Same people. So there's a direct correlation with people's success in this business and their ability to promote the value of an event. There's a correlation. So promoting is something you want to learn to do. And people say, well, how do you promote? How do you actually do it? Well, promoting is easy. It starts off with just communication. You've got to share information. If I'm going to promote, for example, for an event, any event, I've got to at least let somebody know about the event. I can say, hey, listen, there's an event coming up on this date at this time. Here's the name of it. Here's what it's about. You got to communicate the information. Because if you don't communicate the information, then there's no value for someone to even to know about the event. You've got to at least tell people about the event. So don't just sit back and hope people are going to get an email, or they're going to get a WhatsApp message, or they're going to see a posting on social media, or hoping that someone else is going to call your team and promote, or hoping you're going to put somebody in a meeting and somebody else is going to promote. No, you've got to be the one. You've got to call people and say, listen, there's an event coming up. Let me tell you why you got to be a part of it. Clear your calendar out. I'm telling you, not only should you be on it, but we got to get your team members on it. And you say, here's what the event is all about. And you explain it, right? But after you're done explaining it, look, there's an old saying again, facts tell and stories sell. Give testimonial. Give testimonial of how these events impacted your business. Tell people what happened to you. Because what I shared with you earlier is my testimonial. That's my testimonial. You have to have a testimonial, but share people a story, because you can tell people the facts, but until you give people a testimonial of how the power of how these events affect you, then people will not be impacted. I always say, look, whenever I was doing an opportunity presentation, if there was a big event coming up, I'd say, listen, I picked 2 or 3 people that I knew that had a huge impact at an event. I'd say, listen, come here. I'd say, John, do me a favor, real quick. Tell everybody what happened to you when you started going to events. Mary, do me a favor. Can you share what? And I would get 2 or 3 people to share their personal testimony that I knew they got a huge impact from promoting an event. And believe it or not, I found that more people would want to go to an event after the testimony than talking about the facts. But it's got to be a conversation starter. You got to tell people about it, right? After you tell people about it, you get a few testimonials, and guess what? That's promoting. It's not hard to do. It's actually pretty simple to do. But I always say facts tell and stories sell, because stories are what really impacts you. I mean, think about this. How many times you turn on the TV at night and, whether you're watching a news station or whatever, there's someone selling a product online, right? Infomercial, whether it's an infomercial or a short one, it doesn't make a difference. They're always throwing up testimonials. And sometimes it's kind of cheesy, like My Pillow. You ever see My Pillow? And they say, they bring somebody on. Oh yeah, my head really hurt, and now I sleep like a baby. And you watch this, and these are almost cheesy, but in a way they still work. I mean, look how successful that guy became selling a pillow. I don't know if you ever got that pillow before. It's not that great, but he sells a lot of pillows. Now he's into everything else, Giza sheets and all this crazy stuff. But the bottom line is they're good. They just tell testimonial after testimonial. And that's what causes people to say, you know what? I like what I'm hearing, but if that person likes it, I'll give it a try too. It's just a natural thing. It's, people love stories. And make sure your testimonials are real. Don't ever make one up, because people can feel your communication. When somebody's saying something and they mean it from their heart, you can feel that. And that's what's moving to people. Don't just say something to say something. You got to say it because it's real. So always pick the best people, have the greatest stories in every area that I'm talking about. So make sure you guys are all promoting for that event, and make sure you guys, get your teams to promote for that. But don't miss a big event. And I'm not just saying this to you guys because I just want to fill that event. I could care less. I mean, really, whether somebody goes or not. But you've got to recognize, if you're going to be successful in ACN, you've got to understand what your tools are. You got to know what your tools are. And the greatest tool you're ever going to have is these big events. These are going to be the greatest tools you will ever have. But people will only be committed to the event as you promote that event and the importance of that event and give testimonial for that event. If you don't do that, then people won't see a value in it. If I'm going to get somebody to an event, I want to make sure that they got their people committed. I'll give you an example. There was a guy, when Harsh was doing the training for us in Asia Pacific, there was one particular guy in Australia who was so serious about getting his people committed, and they lifted restrictions because I think they only have less than 5 people in the whole country that have COVID, but they lifted restrictions. So one guy actually filled a hotel room. So he had all these people on Zoom, right? All these faces, individual faces, and you saw one Zoom screen with the guy sitting there with what it looked like about 50 people sitting in chairs. And he actually got a projector and blew up the screen, and he treated that like a live event. That was just what he wanted to do because he wanted his people committed. And those people sat in those chairs for 6 straight hours with one break. And he got the most success out of that big event that we had. So I was really impressed with that guy. So that shows me he's committed to making sure his people are committed. So it's not just about you, it's about the people that are on your team. Okay, now the last thing I want to talk to you guys about, and then I'm going to wind down, is, and again, I kind of joined this Zoom call a little bit late, so the last presenter that I watched was Harsh, and he did a great job, but he was talking about building a team. He was showing some of the commissions that you could earn. He was showing you some of the bonuses that can be earned. But let me talk about building a team for a minute, because this is, look, when you get into direct sales, you have to know why you're here, okay? When you get involved in this business, can you make money just getting customers and doing nothing else? And the answer is yes, you can, okay? But if you want to take advantage of the leverage side of the business, you have to understand that the only way you can do that is by building an organization, because you can only get so many results working by yourself. I mean, you only have so many hours in a day. You can only talk to so many people. You're only going to get so far working by yourself. Now, for some people, that's all they want to do. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're serious and you really want to take your business to the next level, you have to understand leverage. And all leverage means, and I'm going to tell you what the first time I learned about leverage. The very first time I learned about leverage was when I was really young. I was about 18, 19 years old, and I started a lawn sprinkler business. And I was doing all the work by myself when I initially started. I was, digging trenches, putting sprinkler systems in, and it would take me 3 or 4 days to do a single job. But I was always happy with that. I'd make like $500 on that job. So I was doing pretty good. I was making more money than most of my friends. And I started, I took a lot of pride in my work. So every time I did a job, I was getting 2 or 3 referrals. So I immediately could not handle the work that I was getting, So all of a sudden, a few of my friends said, "I'll help you." And, I was one of my friends. So I started hiring a few of my friends, and they agreed that I could pay them by the hour. And I was paying them a premium in the 80s. I was giving them $10 cash an hour, and I started getting more jobs. And I started doing this over a few years, and I started building a business. And I did that business for 4 straight years. But it got to the point where I actually was doing 2 or 3 jobs, but I was very scared to leave my jobs. I mean, I was the owner. I sold the job. I was there working as hard, if not harder, than all the employees together, because it was my job, right? So even though I'm paying everybody, I'm doing all the important stuff, like hanging the timers and doing the plumbing outside the house. And, I did the training of how to use a system at the end. But, my friends who also right at that time employed by me, they were learning from me, but I just never let go of the reins. One particular week, I got extremely sick. I don't remember what happened. I got the flu or something, but it was one of those weeks that I was out for a whole week. And we had at least 3 to 5 jobs that week that had to go in. And I remember not getting up out of bed. And my friends came over and, they appreciated me. And I just said, "Look, Mike, we got this." They give us the addresses. And I was so scared. I gave them the addresses and I just couldn't get out of bed. I was like that bad. And they basically went and did all the work. And literally, as I got better at the end of the week, I got up out of bed. I finally had enough strength. And I got out to meet the guys. And they said, "Yeah, it's all done. Just go and collect a check on each one of those jobs." And I was a little skeptical, right? So I get to each job and not one person needed me to show them what to do. Not one person had any questions or complaints. And I inspected the job and it looked like I did it. I'm going, what is going on here? And that week I made so much money and I never got out of bed. And what I realized is, okay, that was like one of the greatest lessons I learned about employing the efforts of other people. And at the time, they were employees. But here's what I love about direct sales. We can employ the efforts of other people, but they're not employees. We can employ the efforts of others, but everyone has the identical opportunity you do. See, those people that were working for me did not. I made probably $500 in each one of those jobs, and they just got paid by the hour. Now, they did okay that week, but each one of them, 3 of them, probably made for the whole week what I made on each job. Okay, so to me, the opportunity wasn't equal, but it was necessary. This is what I love about direct sales, because direct sales, it's equal. When we get somebody into business, I'm just as excited for the person I'm recruiting as I am for myself. Just think about what I'm saying to you for a minute. Don't view yourself as a top, you're at the top of the pyramid. I'm at the top, I'm gonna be the best, I'm gonna make the most. No, every person you bring in has the identical opportunity you do. So you gotta get excited for them as much as you're excited for yourself. Now, does it mean that they're gonna be excited for themselves? Not necessarily. See, here's the key to recruiting. The key to recruiting is understand you've got something great to offer. Okay, but does it mean that every person you offer to is going to see it the same way you do? And the answer is no. Not everyone's going to see it that way, because not everybody is ready for opportunity. You have to be okay with this, because once you're okay with this, you're going to become a much better recruiter, and you're going to become more efficient because you're going to be a much better sorter. See, the key to recruiting is sorting. The key to recruiting is recognizing who's excited about the opportunity as much as you're excited about the opportunity. That's the key here. See, the reason why a lot of people can't recruit and don't recruit well or don't build organizations is because they put so much pressure on themselves, like it's a sales job. I have to sell somebody that this is a great opportunity. I have to convince them to do it when they don't want to. I have to make them feel like they got to be a part of this when they don't feel like being a part of this. Does that make sense? That's the number one reason why a lot of people are terrible at building a team, because they spend all their time trying to convince the people that don't want to be a part of it, because they see it for them, but the person they're recruiting doesn't see it for themselves. You spend all your time with those people because you don't want to let go. You think you got a bird in the hand, and it's not. You know, it's always best to be like, recognize that your job is not to convince, sell, debate, none of the above. Sorting is the key to recruiting. If you want to have a large team, you've got to sort through people quickly. And when I say sort through people, I'm not saying flush people away. I'm not saying to you that if people are not interested, that they're bad people. Just all we are doing is respecting the choice of others. That's all we're doing. If somebody's interested, then I'm interested in helping them. If somebody wants to work, then I want to work with them. If somebody doesn't want to be a part of it, then guess what? Thank you for looking. I really appreciate your time. Would you at least try my service? You know, but you move on. You don't make people feel bad. The moment you get frustrated, the moment you make someone feel bad for not being a part of this business, okay, from a psychological point of view, the moment that you get in a debate or an argue or whatever, you lose, and you lose way bigger than you can ever imagine. I'll tell you why. You guys would probably all agree that we all know people that know other people that we know too, right? So we have friends that know similar people. The moment you make someone feel terrible about their choice, what do you think they're going to tell other people before you talk to them? Now, why do I know that? Because I made that mistake. You know, I remember getting in arguments with people saying, you know, I can't believe you're so stupid. You're so great. Go back to your job. You're just over broke. I mean, I had so many things I would say to people, you know, I can't believe you wouldn't even give it a try. And those people would now go tell other people that I knew, hey, look out, Mike Cupisz is coming. He's coming. He's going to tell you about this opportunity. He's going to make you feel like crap. And then I would be walking in a restaurant, not even thinking about my opportunity. I'd see somebody and somebody go, I'm not joining. I said, what are you talking about? I'm not getting involved in your thing. Okay, I was just saying hi. And I started learning real quick that, you know, the moment you make people feel bad, guess what they're going to do? They're going to talk crap about you behind your back. So our job is not to make people feel bad. People never, ever remember what you say, but they'll always remember how you make them feel. If you make people feel like crap, guess what? You not only have you built an enemy, you've probably built somebody that's going to go to war against you behind your back in secret. You don't need that in your life. So how do you prevent that? Is be okay with yeses, be okay with maybes, and be okay with no's. It doesn't matter. Your job is not to change a no to a maybe or a maybe to a yes. You put people in front of the information. If they like it, we tell them the next step, and everything will start to work together. But the key to building an organization fast is not hesitating. You got to talk to people on a regular basis. Now, some people say, well, I'm scared to talk to people. I mean, I don't know what to say. Look, think about, there's two types of piquing interest, right? There's intentional, and then there's just like an opportunity and timing, right? So intentional is where you make, you have somebody that you write their name down. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to WhatsApp this person. I'm going to text this person. It's intentional, right? So you got to come up with what's comfortable for you to say. It's a pique interest. I remember way back in the 90s, this was just something I used to say. I don't even know if you'd say it, but for me, it was something I say all the time. I'd say, hey, I got a crazy question. Are you interested in making money outside what you do? And that's all I would say. I got a crazy question. Are you interested in making money outside what you do? And people would either say yes or no. Like people say, nah, I just got a job. I go, oh, that's cool. Or yeah, I just graduated from college and I'm excited about this path. Oh, no problem. I was just curious. Well, why are you asking? It's not important. We're just launching a new business, but don't worry about it. If you're open to doing something, I sit down and show it to you, but just stick with what you're doing. And people sit back and they go, well, maybe I want to see it. And every time you back off from people, they'll come back towards you. But remember, I don't care whether somebody says yes or no, because I'm a sorter. I learned how to sort. So when you're peaking, you're still sorting, because not everybody is worthy of a presentation. If somebody's giving me a half-baked answer, I'm not going to sit down with them. I'm certainly not going to put them in front of Patrick Mazer, right? The people I'm going to put in front of someone is someone that I actually sat down with and maybe just shared a little bit of the information with, and they were leaning forward. Say, I like it. I'd like to get more information. Great. I want you to meet so-and-so. And I'd put them in front of that person. So I'm a sorter. You got to be a sorter. But here's, I'm going to go back to piquing interest, the intentional pique interest. How long does it take to say, right? I got a crazy question. Would you be interested in making money outside of what you do? How long does it take to say that? How long does it take to say that? And I got a better question. How long does it take for you to figure out by their response whether they're even interested in looking at an opportunity? How long does that take? What if I told you, I bet you all of it would take less than 30 seconds. Do you guys agree with that? Okay. So if you're going to be intentionally piquing interest, and I like to use that word piquing interest, not recruiting. If you're going to be intentionally piquing interest, right? If it only takes 30 seconds, not only to say it, but to get a response for you to figure out whether there's even any interest, right? How many of those could you do in a single day? How many of those could you do in an entire week? How many could you do all year? So, and here's the crazy thing. You don't have to get a lot of different separate organizations going. You don't have to, okay? But how many do you really need? I mean, so you have to be intentional. You've got to spark the fire. And the only way you do that was piquing interest. Recruiting starts with piquing. So don't get hung up with recruiting. Recruiting is easy when you start to realize that we're only sorting, we're not selling. When you digest that, when you really swallow that pill and you understand that, you'll never be afraid to recruit again. Why? Because you are just going to listen to their answers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It takes all the pressure off. See, I remember my brother was selling insurance. He told me that he used to go into small businesses, and if he walked out that door and didn't get that person assigned, there was going to be another agent behind him that was going to get that business assigned. So he learned something when he was in sales. He learned that you have to close. You have to close, right? You have to close, because if you let that person go, if they let you go, somebody else is going to get him before you. See, that's not what we do. See, sales, if anyone's got sales background, it will drag you down a rabbit hole in this business and it will crush you. Sales is actually will work against you in this business in a way that you can't even imagine. So I always say, like, if somebody's got sales skill and they go, well, I'm a great salesperson, I should really do good at this. I go, I hate to tell you this, if you've got great sales skill, you're probably going to be least likely to succeed, because you won't let it go. You're going to try to close everybody in the business. And closing in our business is just promoting the next step. It's not closing in the business. Now, I say this to you because the only reason people hesitate on recruiting is because they don't understand these basic thought processes. I'm just trying to talk philosophy here. If you understand how simple it is to pique somebody's interest, and you understand that because you're just sorting, if they're interested, great. If they're not interested, who cares? Couldn't you do that all the time? Like, what's the pressure in that for you? Zero. It's like, oh, it's almost, you realize like there's no skill. You've got to skill yourself backwards to be able to do that. Now we say there's the unintentional peak, right? Where you just, I call it the opportunity. So you just happen to be maybe at a restaurant, right? How many people have been at a fitness center or just some place where there's other people, and you find yourself in a conversation and you start thinking, this person, I might want to pique this person. They're interesting, and it could even be a cold market. These things, this pops up all the time. Treat that person the same way. Treat that person the same way, but there's only one fundamental difference between the person that I would say is intentional and the one that's unintentional. Usually the unintentional ones are usually what I would call a cold market. You know, you just find yourself talking to somebody, you can recruit them. But here's the difference between warm market and cold market, okay? When you're dealing with warm market, you always have an advantage because there's a little trust and rapport. When you're dealing with cold market, I'm going to tell you right now, they will never trust you ever, ever. Especially if you met them at a restaurant or a fitness center, all of a sudden you say, I want to show you an opportunity. You get that opportunity to share it with them. They will never trust you. And believe it or not, a lot of people will try to force a cold market person to commit to the business. And that's when you'll work with that cold market person. Here's the key to working with cold market. There's nothing wrong with cold market. Actually, I built most of my business with cold market, understanding one difference, that they have a warm market that I don't have. They know people that I don't know. I don't want to build the cold market. I got to build into their warm market. So what I used to do all the time, I used to travel the United States and even internationally. Whenever we would take on new business, I would literally look at someone who was completely cold, and I'd say, well, listen, don't worry about signing up. I said, who do you know that you think might be good at this business? Because instead of me telling you how this works, let me show you. Let me present the business to them. And if they're excited about it and they want to get involved, that might be an indication you should do it too. If they're not, then maybe you shouldn't do it either. Now, I would do that because it was a gamble for me, because that person might not be interested, but it doesn't matter anyways. That cold market person will never trust you. So if I can get to their warm market, here's what really happens. Now, they put me in front of one person and I show them the opportunity. If they're interested, they go, I love it. Guess what we have? We got the triangular of trust and respect, because that warm market of that cold market, there's your trust. And there's nothing that will motivate someone more when they bring somebody to look at the opportunity and that person's interested. That cold market person is going to sign up. You know why? Because first of all, they saw the interest in their friend or family member, whoever they invited. Now they feel like, wow, this really works, right? But that's where you start igniting an organization. So whether you're doing an intentional peak where you're talking to your warm market or it's unintentional, just remember, we always want to get to the warm markets. And you've always got to make sure that when you guys are doing your PBZs, that you've got to be consistent. Don't let a day go by or 2 days go by or 3 days go by or 4 days go by and all of a sudden you say, well, now I'm going to try to get somebody in and now I'm going to try to set up a PBZ. No, get it set up. Commit yourself. You know, I know that if you guys commit yourself to a PBZ, you're going to be on the phone intentionally piquing some interest. And look, your only job is to invite people, right? Your only job is to get people on those Zoom calls. That's it. That's all you got to do is get them on those Zooms. And you guys have a process of doing that. I've heard Harsh talk about it. I've heard Patrick talk about it. I've heard Mike talk about it. You know, the Rockstar team has a system and that system works. So you guys use that system to the T, but you've got to be actively involved in your business, not inactively involved. Actively involved means don't look at your business as like your upline is your boss. If your upline up somewhere up there is your boss, that means you're waiting for them to tell you what to do. No, you own your business. Today, starting today, own your business, right? Start building your business as though you own it. Look, you can't fail because we all start at the bottom. We literally start with nothing. So you can't fail. Anything that you create is new business. It's something you're creating, you're adding to. You know, and I always say, you know, if you have a vision of where you want to be in this business, the real question is, how long do you want to take to get there? Right? I mean, if you knew that you could be an RVP guaranteed in 24 months, if you did the work, right, in 24 months, or you could be an RVP in 60 months, in 5 years, right now, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to be there in 2 years, or would you prefer to be there in 5 years? And we know the answer to that. You'd rather be there in 2 years. So the next 3 years, you can enjoy the lifestyle of being a regional vice president. I mean, there's a lifestyle to that level, right? And you can enjoy that. So why do you want to wait 5 years to do it? Just get it done. So put a plan together and say, I'm going to get this thing done. I'm going to work hard. And I say, put a lot of effort now in the beginning. And here's what's weird about our business. And I'm going to start winding down now here. Here's what's weird about our business. And I've experienced this and I've shared this with other people I've worked with, but I'm telling you, it's hands down, this is such a weird feeling. In the beginning, it seems like you work a lot for so little, like for so little. Like it almost feels like, wow, this is so much work to get so little. But then all of a sudden that compound effect kicks in, right? The teams that start building, you start developing a few leaders and all of a sudden people start breaking away from you and they're doing their own thing. And now you sit back. Now it seems like the longer you're in the business, it seems like you're doing so little, but yet you're earning so much. And it feels guilty because you see these new people coming in and they have nothing and you know how hard they got to work and they're excited about making just 200 and you're looking at what you just made and you're going, I feel so guilty. I don't know why, but that guilt will pass. I promise. Don't worry about that. It will pass. But that's the way the business works. You got to put in. So if you know you got to put in the beginning, right? And you're going to work a lot to get a little, but the whole point is to switch that funnel where now you're getting paid a lot and you're doing so little. And it's going to be weird because, you know, in the future, imagine 3 years from now, somebody promotes you, you jump on a call like this and there's, you know, 200 people and they're all on your team. Right. And half of them are leaders and they're working the business and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I just did a 30-minute presentation or a 45-minute presentation. And now your team is out there working and your team's all over the United States, Canada. You got a few people in Germany, a couple people in Australia, a few people in Colombia. You don't even know how you got this team, but you finish a call and they all go to work. I mean, wouldn't that be a good feeling? How long do you want to wait to have that good feeling? Okay. We all have to go through the same pain, through the same workload. All I'm saying is condense it. Just get it done now. Just get it done. Get out of the way. You can suffer for 3 years. You can suffer for 1 year. You can suffer for 10 years. It's up to you. But we're all going to have to do a little suffering because in this business, you have to build it. You start off with nothing, right? You start off with nothing. You join, you fill out your agreement, you're an IBO. You start off with nothing. You have no team. Now it's time to build a team. So leverage is the key. Build a team. Leverage your business through building a large team, number one. And number two, leverage your ability to train that team by promoting for every big event. So the next big one is the Game On event in June. Build for that event. Build for that event. And if you're not registered, register tonight so you can save money because tomorrow it goes up. And that really concludes what I wanted to talk to you guys about. And listen, thank you so much for having me. I love talking to you guys. You're my favorite team in all of ACN. Don't tell anybody that. But Patrick and Mike Mazer, those two guys are my personal friends. I know they're in ACN and they're IBOs and they're leaders and all the above, but I consider them my personal friends first and business second. I really love those guys and they do such a great job for everyone. So I can't say enough about them. So with that being said, I'm now going to turn the call over to my friend, Mr. Patrick Mazer. Patrick?
Wow. Thank you so much, Michael. And wow, did he not do a great job? Let's show Michael what a rock star round of applause looks like. There you go, Michael. Welcome to the Rockstars. And
Thanks, Patrick. See you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being on tonight. And how many of us got a lot out of Michael Cupisz tonight? Man, I'll tell you, that was probably one of the greatest trainings that I've gotten an opportunity to listen to. Here's an individual that has went out and built literally 23 countries, meaning he was the co-founder that was on the road, going into cities, going into countries, starting those countries, finding leaders like us, building culture, building trainings, and creating lots and lots of success stories. And to get an opportunity like this is so rare in life that you can be where you are and you can plug in and get an opportunity to hear from and listen to an individual that has had not only massive success by anybody's standards financially, but I believe success is how many people's lives you affected. How many of us would agree with that statement? You know, there's a lot of people that made a lot of money that nobody showed up at their funeral, yes or no, because they didn't do a lot of things for a lot of people. And then there's somebody like a Michael Cupisz that's not only made a lot of money, but he made a lot of money helping a lot of people. And, tonight I think was such a special night. I'm so happy we recorded this because I know that this is going to be a training that we're going to want to give you so that you can re-listen and re-listen and re-listen, especially at different stages of your business. Because I know as somebody talks and trains, your mind starts to wander. right? They say something and all of a sudden your mind starts to wander, and he says, look, we don't want salespeople here, and here's some language to use, and this is how you know, approach somebody. And so much great information was given out here tonight. So man, I'm just happy you guys were a part of it. We also want to do